was that allegedly Jay-Z and Roc Nation is behind this. Jay-Z and Roc Nation has been after Nicki for a while, especially after she released that song Goodfoot. But even long before then, there had been beef, which I did not realize was trying to get her arrested, but of course legally. That's why they waited till she was overseas to do this to her. Roc Nation wanted to make sure that when she got arrested or apprehended for whatever, because you know in the industry they can get you set up with all kinds of charges, all right? It said that they wanted to make sure her husband was not with her because her husband is her protection, which we know that. Nation is looking to bankrupt Nicki. And this is why there has been several stories planted about her being broke, going broke, or needing to constantly tour because she's close to being broke. So set up and sabotage. And if I was Nicki, I would fire my whole team.
Nobody move, nobody blink, because according to the internet's most unhinged corners, a bombshell just allegedly rolled across the timeline with Nicki Minaj's name duct taped to Adan Beyonce's name T. Rending like the Wi-Fi caught fire. The claim flying around that Nicki leaked something so wild, so scandal-coated, so jaw-dropping, fans are saying it makes every celebrity court drama look like preschool show and tell. Now let's slow this down before lawyers start sweating. No court documents dropped, no verified proof surfaced. But the internet doesn't need evidence, it needs vibes, screenshots, and a caption that starts with "y'all not ready for this." And once that rumor hit, the timeline went feral. People are accusing, fans are connecting dots that may not even exist. Stan pages are writing think pieces longer than college essays. And suddenly Beyonce is being dragged into a storyline so messy it makes reality TV look underproduced. Nicki didn't name names directly, allegedly. She didn't drop receipts, allegedly, but she didn't deny anything either, and silence on the internet is treated like a megaphone. This isn't confirmed truth. This is digital chaos. And once the internet smells a secret, it doesn't ask questions, it kicks the door down. Because if even half of this rumor were real, this wouldn't just be drama, it would be cultural DEFCON 1. The moment this rumor surfaced, the internet didn't ask for clarification, it grabbed popcorn. According to social media, Nicki Minaj allegedly dropped a breadcrumb so spicy it set Stan Twitter on fire within minutes. Not a document, not a sworn statement, just a few carefully worded posts. Cryptic energy, and that unmistakable tone that says, "I know something, and you don't," and that was all it took. Because when Nicki hints, the internet doesn't listen, it investigates like it's auditioning for a true crime documentary. The alleged storyline spread faster than common sense. Fans immediately began claiming that Nicki was exposing a hidden legal situation involving Beyonce, a judge, and a long-rumored paternity dispute that has floated around the darker corners of the internet. For years, to be clear, none of this came with proof, no filings, no confirmations, just whispers, screenshots with zero sources, and the internet's favorite phrase, connect the dots. And oh, did they connect them? Every old interview clip was suddenly foreshadowing. Every lyric got reinterpreted like it was written in invisible ink. Even past celebrity silence was treated like strategic omission. The timeline turned into a conspiracy corkboard held together with vibes and Wi-Fi. What made this rumor hit harder wasn't credibility, it was contrast. Beyonce's brand is immaculate, polished, controlled. Nicki's brand, on the other hand, thrives in chaos, confrontation, and saying the thing everyone else is scared to even type. So when Nicki allegedly implied that someone powerful may have influenced a legal outcome involving a child, the shock value alone was enough to detonate the discourse, sarcasm aside. This is where things got uncomfortable. The rumor didn't just target fame, it dragged the justice system into the narrative. And the moment the word judge entered the conversation, even hypothetically, the stakes skyrocketed. Allegations of judicial manipulation are not tea. They're not gossip. They're the nuclear codes of celebrity rumors. Which is exactly why this story spread like wildfire. Danger plus fame equals viral velocity. First reactions were instant and polarized. Nicki supporters framed the alleged leak as bravery, truth-telling, and long overdue exposure. Beyonce's fans dismissed it as fan fiction fueled by rivalry and engagement farming. Neutral observers just stared at their screens wondering how we got here so fast. And within hours, the internet wasn't debating whether the rumor was true, it was debating what it meant. Was Nicki warning people? Was she venting? Was she trolling? Or was this all a case of fans building a mansion out of a sentence fragment? Nobody knew, but certainty didn't slow anyone down. Stan accounts began writing multi-thread breakdowns with timestamps, alleged timelines, and sources that were suspiciously allergic to verification. The background tension between fan bases didn't help. Nicki and Beyonce represent two different power structures in pop culture. One thrives in controlled dominance, the other thrives in confrontation and unpredictability. So when Nicki allegedly cracked the door open, fans on both sides rushed to kick it wider, one side demanding exposure, the other demanding silence. Reaction channels jumped in immediately. Titles screamed leaked, exposed, and this is big. Thumbnails paired Nicki's most intense photos with Beyonce's calmest ones because nothing drives clicks like visual contrast. And just like that, speculation became content. What's wild is how quickly nuance evaporated. Nobody paused to ask if the alleged claim even made logistical sense. Nobody questioned why no documentation existed. The internet treated absence of proof not as a red flag, but as proof of how deep it must go. Because if there were evidence, the theory goes, it would have been erased already. That's how conspiracy logic eats itself and calls it truth. Meanwhile, Nicki herself didn't clarify, she didn't expand, she didn't shut it down. And on the internet, silence is treated like Morse code. Every hour without denial made the rumor grow legs. People started saying, if it wasn't true, she'd say something. Others argued, if it were true, she couldn't say more. Either way, the absence of explanation became fuel. The most disturbing part of the reaction was how casually people discussed a hypothetical child like a plot device. Alleged paternity claims became talking points instead of human realities. The rumor wasn't just about celebrities, it was about power, secrecy, and who gets protected when fame meets institutions. That's why it resonated, not because it was proven, but because it fit a narrative people already believed about the untouchable elite. And that's where this controversy really took shape. It wasn't about Nicki versus Beyonce anymore. It was about the idea that wealth bends rules, that silence buys safety, and that truth, real or imagined, only leaks when someone decides to light the match. By the end of this first wave, the internet had already convicted someone in the court of public opinion, not with facts, but with momentum. And once momentum replaces verification, the story no longer belongs to reality, it belongs to whoever can shout the loudest. This wasn't resolution, this was ignition. And everyone watching could feel it. Whatever came next was going to be louder, messier, and far harder to control. The second this rumor crossed from niche stan spaces into the mainstream timeline, it stopped being gossip and became spectacle. This is the phase where the internet doesn't just react, it performs. Suddenly everyone had an opinion, a theory, and a hot take that needed to be heard immediately, preferably in all caps. The alleged Nicki leak didn't just trend, it metastasized. Celebrity reactions, real, imagined, and aggressively misinterpreted, poured gasoline on the situation. One vague tweet from a semi-famous figure about truth always coming out was immediately treated like confirmation. An old Beyonce interview clip resurfaced, stripped of context, slowed down, and psychoanalyzed. Like the Zapruder film, Nicki's past lyrics were suddenly being treated like coded confessions, as if pop music had turned into encrypted government files. Memes went feral. Beyonce was edited into courtroom sketches she never sat for. Nicki was photoshopped holding imaginary manila folders labeled receipts, judges, gavels, and blindfolded Lady Justice graphics flooded timelines like it was a bootleg legal drama promotion. Nothing fuels virality like mixing power, secrecy, and zero verified information. The Stan Wars hit DEF-CON levels. Barb's framed Nicki as a whistleblower who dared to challenge an untouchable empire. The Bayhive framed the entire rumor as fanfiction-level delusion fueled by obsession and algorithm thirst. Neutral observers try to stay out of it, but neutrality doesn't survive when both sides are armed with quote tweets. What escalated everything was how the alleged claim expanded. It wasn't just about influence anymore. Fans began spinning theories about industry protection, media silence, and invisible power structures that decide which stories get buried and which get amplified. Suddenly, this wasn't celebrity drama, it was an alleged expose of how fame allegedly bends reality itself. Pop culture analogies flew non-stop. People compared the situation to infamous Hollywood cover-up rumors, royal family secrecy, and even fictional storylines like it was a crossover episode nobody asked for. This is bigger than Watergate jokes popped up next to this is literally Empire Season 5 memes. When discourse reaches that level, truth becomes optional and entertainment takes the wheel. Reaction channels sprinted, not walked, into the chaos. Every hour brought a new breaking update that contained absolutely no new information. Creators speculated confidently, theorized aggressively, and hedged legally all at the same time. The formula was flawless. Allege nothing, imply everything, monetize immediately. The algorithm rewarded speed, not accuracy, and the loudest voices climbed fastest. Meanwhile, the alleged evidence list grew longer and thinner. Anonymous accounts claimed insider knowledge. Screenshots without sources circulated like sacred texts. Someone's cousin's friend allegedly worked near someone important. The credibility bar dropped so low it tripped over itself. But no one cared because the story felt good. It confirmed suspicions people already had about elite power. And hidden truths. Nicki's continued silence or selective engagement, depending on how you read it, kept the fire roaring. Every like, every repost, every moment she didn't address the rumor directly was dissected like a forensic sample. On the internet, silence isn't neutral. It's interpreted as strategy, and strategy implies intent. Beyonce's lack of response did the opposite. Fans framed it as unbothered confidence, while critics spun it as calculated avoidance. The same silence meant to completely different things depending on which side of the timeline you stood on. That's the beauty of online chaos. Facts are optional, interpretations are infinite. Public outrage evolved into public obsession. People weren't just asking, is this true, anymore. They were asking, how deep does it go? That's when conspiracy logic locks in. Absence of proof stops being a flaw and starts being evidence of how powerful they are. The more nothing showed up, the more sinister the story felt to believers. The most uncomfortable shift was how casually people discussed a hypothetical child like a plot twist. Alleged paternity became content. Emotional realities were replaced with narrative convenience. It was no longer about whether something happened, it was about how dramatic the theory could become. That's when a story stops being investigative and starts being CO, then SUMPTIVE. As days passed, the outrage began eating itself. People contradicted earlier claims. Timelines didn't line up. Details changed subtly, but instead of slowing things down, inconsistencies just spawned new theories. Corrections were treated like cover-ups. Skepticism was treated like allegiance. The discourse fractured into camps. One side demanded accountability for alleged crimes that had no proof. Another side mocked the entire situation as delusional stan behavior. A third group just watched in disbelief as the internet collectively role-played a scandal that might not even exist. By this point, the narrative had outgrown Nicki and Beyonce entirely. It became about power versus transparency, image versus chaos, control versus unpredictability. Nicki symbolized disruption. Beyonce symbolized untouchable perfection. Whether that framing was fair didn't matter. It was compelling, and that's all the internet needs. And as the noise reached its loudest pitch, something else became clear. Even if the rumor collapsed tomorrow, the idea would survive. Screenshots live forever, accusations echo, and once the internet convinces itself it has uncovered a secret, it doesn't let go easily. This phase wasn't about truth, it was about belief, and belief, once ignited, doesn't care about facts, it cares about momentum. The storm wasn't peaking, yet it was hardening. And whatever came next wouldn't be louder, it would be heavier. By the time the volume finally dipped, the damage wasn't loud anymore, it was structural. That's the stage most viral scandals reach when the cameras move on, but the consequences don't. The rumor had already done its work, not by proving anything, but by reshaping perception. And perception, in celebrity culture, is currency more powerful than evidence. Beyonce's public image didn't implode, but it didn't remain untouched either. That's the uncomfortable truth about internet mythology. Even when claims are unverified, the association alone creates residue. Think of it like smoke in a room. You can air it out, but people still remember the smell. Search bars don't forget. Comment sections don't forgive. And conspiracy-minded audiences don't retreat, they archive. Nicki, on the other hand, emerged exactly where she's always been most powerful, in the center of controlled chaos. To supporters, she became a truth-teller who rattled an untouchable system without needing to show receipts. To critics, she became the architect of a rumor spiral that fed off ambiguity. Either way, her relevance spiked, and in the attention economy, relevance is the scoreboard, the relationship between the two. Fan bases didn't just crack-hit calcified. Barb's and the Bayhive didn't cool down, they entrenched. Every feature chart battle, lyric breakdown, or award show appearance now carries this unspoken tension. What used to be competitive fandom turned ideological. One side champions disruption, the other defends legacy. And neither is interested in compromise. Industry silence added weight to the speculation. No statements, no legal clarifications, no public denials from anyone involved. For some observers, that quiet was logical. Why dignify a rumor? For others, it was suspicious. Silence is a Rorschach test online. People don't hear what's said, they project what they already believe. Behind the scenes, this kind of discourse changes how brands, platforms, and executives move, not because they believe the rumor, but because they monitor volatility. Nobody wants to step into a narrative storm, even an unproven one. Deals don't disappear publicly, they stall privately. Conversations get postponed, emails go unanswered. That's how fallout works when nothing is confirmed but everything feels radioactive. What's more revealing is how quickly the alleged claim detached from its origin. It stopped being about what Nicki supposedly hinted at and became a broader symbol, a story about hidden power, about elite protection, about how fame allegedly shields people from scrutiny. Whether true or not, that idea resonated because it aligned with a larger cultural suspicion. And once a rumor plugs into an existing belief system, it becomes nearly impossible to unplug. The hypothetical child at the center of the alleged narrative became increasingly abstracted, less human, more symbolic. That's when things get dangerous, when people stop talking about real-world impact and start talking about what it represents. Empathy is usually the first casualty. The internet loves themes more than it loves people. As days passed, contradictions surfaced. Timelines didn't match. Claims shifted subtly. Some accounts quietly deleted earlier posts. Others reframed their language. But instead of collapsing the narrative, those inconsistencies hardened belief among true followers. Corrections were labeled cover-ups. Doubt was treated as allegiance to power. That's how digital folklore works. It adapts to survive. The larger consequence wasn't legal or official, it was cultural. This rumor reinforced the idea that no celebrity, no matter how polished, is immune to alternate storylines. Control can be challenged, image can be questioned, and once that door opens, it never fully closes. Beyonce's brand remains massive. But now it exists alongside a fringe narrative that will resurface whenever tension needs fuel. For Nicki, the episode reaffirmed her position as pop culture's disruptor. Someone who doesn't need to say everything explicitly to set the timeline on fire. That ability is both power and liability, because when you traffic in implication, you don't control interpretation, and interpretation online is a wild animal. The media cycle moved on, as it always does. New drama replaced old drama, new villains were assigned, but this story didn't disappear at fossilized. It now lives in Reddit threads, YouTube compilations, and remember when comments waiting for the next spark. Viral scandals don't end, they hibernate. What this aftermath really exposed was how little truth matters once belief takes hold. The internet doesn't require proof to pass judgment, it requires narrative satisfaction. And this rumor, however unfounded, offered a perfect storm of power, secrecy, rivalry, and moral outrage. That combination is irresistible. It also revealed how quickly serious accusations can be normalized as entertainment. Words like bribe, judge, and denial were tossed around casually, stripped of their gravity. When language loses weight, consequences follow. That's not just a celebrity problem, it's a cultural one. In the end, no official resolution arrived, no dramatic reveal, no definitive debunking, just silence, distance, and time. And time, online, doesn't heal it archives. The curiosity remains, the suspicion lingers. And the next time either name trends unexpectedly, this rumor will resurface like a ghost nobody invited back. Because scandals like this don't need to be true to be powerful. They just need to be believed, and belief, once ignited, is louder than facts and harder to erase. This wasn't an ending. It was a reminder of how quickly the internet can turn whispers into mythology and how fame doesn't protect you from stories the crowd wants to tell. Before you click away, stop right here, because this is where you come in. I want to know what you really think, not the safe take, not the Stan War script. Was this just internet fan fiction spiraling out of control? Or did Nicki's alleged hints crack open a conversation people are scared to have about power, image, and who really gets protected? Drop your take in the comments, and don't be shy. The messier the debate, the better the truth surfaces. Now smash that like button like it owes you money. Dodged your calls and still watches your stories. Subscribe, because scandals don't come with warnings, and this channel is where they get dissected with sarcasm, receipts, and zero fear of uncomfortable conversations. If you blink, you miss a chapter. If you're subscribed, you stay ahead of the chaos. Turn on notifications, because stories like this don't disappear, they hibernate. And when the internet decides to resurrect them, we'll be right here breaking down every rumor, every reaction, and every contradiction while everyone else pretends they never tweeted about it. Remember, celebrity culture isn't built on facts alone, it's built on belief, silence, and who controls the narrative when things get loud. And when those narratives collide, that's where we live. This is Scandal Spark, where whispers turn into wildfires, myths meet momentum, and the internet's favorite secrets never stay buried.